Some Oregonians are suing for the right to go back to church, and now the president's getting involved.
If they don't do it, I will override the governors.
But I did wonder, does he have the legal authority to actually do that? Meanwhile, most of Oregon is starting to reopen, just in time for the Memorial Day weekend. But before you go firing up the grill for a big party, let's take a quick look at what's happening in Central Oregon, because it's not so good. And apparently, some Portland park rangers spent thousands of dollars on food with city money they weren't supposed to use. Here's the story.
How about that little shout out to Bend, Oregon and the Blockbuster at the end of Nightly? I like it. Hi, I'm Dan Haggerty. Welcome to the story. I'm just going to tell you straight away, I'm not myself today. I'm just not feeling it, man. I think you can relate to that. I mean, this has been going on for a while now. I had one of those days where I'm done with this whole thing. I am. I want to be honest with you. And look, I'm working and getting paid and still experiencing, I guess, a lot of normalcy in my life in those regards. And my mom always told me, think about the people who don't quite have it as good as you do. So I'm thinking about all of you people at home who don't have those things. And I know it's tough. I really do. You're probably thinking, Dan, who starts a show like this? Who cares what you think? But part of the show is just kind of being me and letting you know who I am. So that's how I feel today. End of story. And I will say, thanks for letting me get it off my chest. I feel a little better already. So let's go ahead and start this Friday with a nice, uncontroversial Friday type of topic. I'm just kidding. We're going to talk about politics and religion because you know what? This ain't the dinner table, even though some of you are probably eating right now. All right. Let's just get right into it. So earlier this week, a judge in Baker County ruled that Governor Kate Brown could not order churches to stay closed after 10 churches filed this lawsuit you see there. But then the state Supreme Court put that ruling on hold, giving the state a chance to appeal. Then today, President Trump came into the picture and made what sounded like a pretty clear declaration.
Today I'm identifying houses of worship, churches, synagogue, and mosques as essential places that provide essential services. The governors need to do the right thing and allow these very important essential places of faith to open right now for this weekend. If they don't do it, I will override the governors.
Okay, all right. Can he do that, though? I was wondering, can he even do that? Does this mean that that whole lawsuit we just talked about in Oregon doesn't really matter anymore? I didn't know, so I took it to a legal expert, and they said, well, no, he can't do that. Willamette University law professor Paul Diller, who has been just an amazing resource through all of this, pointed to federalism, meaning the federal government can only tell states so much about what they can and cannot do. Also, the separation of powers, which means usually Congress has to be the one to tell states what to do and what they can and can't do. Anyway, not really the president. And even one of those lawyers who is part of the actual lawsuit here says, no, the president can't really do anything here, but he does appreciate his support.
And I have not read the full text of his remarks. I don't think it has any immediate impact in terms of the legality on this case, but I do think it's important for all of our public officials to remember that freedom of religion has a very special place in the American Constitution.
All right, so the churches in that lawsuit, they also had to file their response to the Supreme Court stay today. So, of course, this thing is still moving forward. We're paying close attention to it, and we'll make sure you know what happens next. Now, to our big story tonight, reopening. See, the metro area is finally catching up with the rest of the state. The governor just approved Clackamas County, for instance, to start reopening tomorrow. That means restaurants and gyms and other businesses can start letting people back in. But, of course, there will be a lot of restrictions. And this afternoon, Washington County, they applied to reopen on June 1st. Now, they've pretty much met all the criteria, but they are still trying to hire those contact tracers. See, that really seems to be the problem around the metro area, those contact tracers. Those are the people hired to find everyone who might have come in contact with an infected person so that they can tell them to self-quarantine. In their application to reopen, Washington County says that they have a plan to hire 42 of them by June 1st, but they haven't hired any of them yet. That's a lot of positions to fill in about a week or so. In Clackamas County, reopening tomorrow only has 21 out of at least 63 contact tracers required by the governor to reopen. Now, we told you yesterday that Multnomah County hasn't even posted the job listings yet for these contact tracers, and they need to hire more than 100 to reopen. They told us that they're busy right now training other people who already work for the county to do these jobs. They haven't had any time to hire anyone outside. They said they're going to try and do that in the coming weeks. So we asked the governor's office why Clackamas County could reopen with just that fraction of those contact tracers, and they said, frankly, the Oregon Health Authority was satisfied with the county's plans to hire tracers in the near future. All right, let's look at the rest of Oregon now, because a lot of other counties are entering Phase 1 tomorrow as well. And at least one of the counties that's already in Phase 1 has some concerns to talk about. I discussed it with Pat Doris earlier. Okay, Pat Doris with us now. Let's talk about reopening and start. Where do you want to start? How about Marion County?
Absolutely. They've been waiting to get going, and finally this morning they were able to start again. Polk County as well. Clackamas County, one of the bigger in the metro area, is going to open tomorrow. So a lot of changes are coming for these counties. And as that happens, there's more people coming in contact with each other, which has the public health officials wringing their very well sanitized hands. We had a chance to check in with Marion County and also Deschutes County. Let's take a look at that.
After 9 long weeks of a forced closure except for takeout, the Covered Bridge Cafe in Stayton is back and open for business.
Today's our first day, and I mean literally, the coffee pots didn't want to work. They said, we haven't been on in 9 weeks. Now you want us to make coffee. So normal restaurant hiccups for sure.
That's Carrie Sessoms, the owner. Carrie is one of many small business owners who wondered how they would survive under COVID-19 restrictions. But now she is feeling a bit of hope.
What's this like emotionally for you? Big relief?
It's a huge relief.
In Deschutes County, the feeling is more like concern after 26 new COVID-19 cases in just the last week since the county opened. An increase of 24% overall and a jump of 46% in people 29 years old and younger who are infected. Pictures from last weekend showed lots of folks gathered for food and other attractions.
Okay, Pat, so when I think of Deschutes County, are they seeing more cases there because they're testing more people, or is there a worry that there's this legitimate spike in COVID cases?
Well, I think they would say that it's both. What they're finding is people are becoming more mobile. They're not just sitting in their homes anymore, and in some cases they're gathering in kind of bigger groups. So when they find someone who's positive and they go and start tracking down all the people they've been in touch with, instead of 1 or 2, which would have happened like a month ago when nobody went anywhere, now maybe, for example, it's 10 or 15. And as they test all of those people, they're coming up with more positives. So I think it's a combination. They're really worried about it. They're also very worried that the number for 29 years old and below has jumped 46% for positives in the last week. That's a big deal.
Interesting. Pat Doris, thank you. Now, we've been talking a lot about unemployment this week. I get this question from Todd on Facebook. Hey, Dan, why no coverage of the massive unemployment fraud that's happening in Washington state? As of last Thursday, they estimate $1.6 million in fraudulent claims have been paid out. So we actually did cover that this week in some of our other newscasts. I won't fault you for not watching every single show that we put on TV. That's okay. So I will say you're exactly right. Washington state paid out $1.6 million in fraudulent claims in April, and it's because of a Nigerian fraud ring. Man, those Nigerian fraud rings will get you every time. Apparently, they've been filing claims in other people's names, and it's happening all across the country, but Washington has apparently been the main target. So how did this happen? Well, the state apparently got rid of the normal vetting process to make sure all of the claims are legit so that they could get money to people faster. Well, that left the door open, I guess, in some way. Washington says that they're going to try and get all that money back. Good luck. Now, for those of us in Oregon wondering what's happening here, the Better Business Bureau doesn't think that this fraud ring has targeted our state yet. Now, speaking of fraud, who doesn't like free lunch, right? Everybody is happy with free lunch, but if taxpayers are picking up the tab, well, that's a different story. A city investigation found park rangers were getting takeout lunch, and guess who was paying for it? Kyle Aboshi takes it from here.
Portland Parks and Rec is facing some harsh criticism after an investigation found city employees improperly spent more than $6,600 in taxpayer money on lunches. The report by the city auditor found between 2016 and 2019, park rangers improperly used a city credit card on food, including more than $1,000 on catering, $600 at a Thai restaurant, and more than $500 on Mexican food and Starbucks.
Misspending like this is especially painful given the Parks Bureau's fiscal woes right now.
Portland Parks and Rec has really struggled to make ends meet for the past year or so. And as the city auditor explained, the agency is facing an even greater budget shortfall due to the coronavirus pandemic, resulting in some closures and layoffs of seasonal employees.
although the total amount spent is not wildly significant in the greater scheme of things, it's just the timing. It's painful to see something like this occur when Parks has so many larger problems.
The report also questioned the purchase of a $113 hat seen in this invoice by the park ranger manager.
The uniform has a baseball hat as part of the uniform, and the hat he purchased was much more expensive than a baseball hat, and it was not part of the official uniform of a park ranger.
In response, a spokesperson for Parks and Rec said the $113 purchase was fine, adding the hat purchase was the initial addition to the current ranger uniform. The agency spokesperson also noted Portland Parks and Rec has increased oversight, monitoring, and training related to P-card or credit card purchases. This is not the first time the cash-strapped agency has come under fire for its spending. Last year, a KGW investigation found Portland Parks and Rec had dumped more than 1,000 color catalogs in a recycling bin. The costly printed guides were never used. And earlier this year, while investigating a tip to its fraud hotline, the city auditor found a working retiree had been paid twice as much as the Park Bureau agreed, resulting in $25,000 paid to the worker for unpermitted hours. Kyle Boshi, KGW News.
Will we ever get to watch sports again? I mean, that's the hope, isn't it? Why don't we go ahead and check in with all the major sports leagues, huh? And hopefully you don't have Mount St. Helens eruption fatigue at this point, because our coverage is bubbling back up when the story continues.
Hey, welcome back. We see all your tweets and your emails. Keep sending them. Use that hashtag HeyDan on Twitter. Got a question about the show? Let me know. We'll try and answer it for you. Got this question from Mike after this week's primary election. We have heard nothing, he said, about the percentage of eligible voters in Oregon who voted in this election. Can you get that info for us? Sure, Mike. Yes, we can. Let's take a look at how this year's turnout compares to past elections. See, the Secretary of State's office says a little more than 46% of people turned in their ballot. That's more than the 2018 primary, but remember, that wasn't a presidential election year, so less people usually vote during those. In 2016, about 54% of people voted in Oregon's primary, which is usually the range where that turnout is during a presidential election year. But see, interestingly enough, though, even though turnout was lower this year than in 2016, more people actually voted. See, 1.3 million voted now compared to 1.2 million then. And that's because there are more registered voters now in Oregon because of the motor voter law. So basically, the pool is bigger. That's why turnout seems lower, even though you're only looking at the percentage. Of course, for the general election in November, turnout should be way higher. In 2018, it was 68%. In 2016, it was 80%. By the way, for those of you counting, the general election is 165 days away on November 3rd. Now let's talk about something that we all want to happen, that hasn't happened, but we all hope will hopefully happen soon. Sports.
Okay, Orlando Sanchez, thank you for joining us, sir. Let's try and rifle through these real quick. What do we know about Major League Soccer right now?
Really interesting development going on with MLS and the Portland Timbers and the soccer community here in the U.S., and that is that multiple places are reporting, The Athletic, ESPN, that MLS is working on a plan to take the league to Walt Disney World and to the Disney wide world of sports. So all 26 teams trying to head to Orlando in June to start training there, and then a month later would play a World Cup style tournament, and certain teams would then advance to a knockout stage. So this is super interesting stuff to follow, but still in the early developments. The players still have to sign off on it, the league as well, but things are moving. There is a little bit of criticism behind this because there's, of course, the health risks behind that for the players. And also, hey, they're going to be away from their families for at least 10 weeks. So really interesting stuff, but it does show you that leagues are starting to make that push towards playing again.
Let's talk about the NBA, speaking of leagues. Are we going to see the Portland Trail Blazers finish out the season? What is the latest word on the NBA right now?
Just the way the sports world kind of shut down, the NBA was really the first one when everybody snapped and said, oh, this is real. This coronavirus, COVID-19 pandemic is legit and is impacting us. So many of us thought the NBA might be the front runner to get things going again, just the way they've been able to react to things and and really be in front of it all. And just like Major League Soccer, the reports were coming out that the NBA was developing a plan to be able to play games and resume the season in Orlando at the Disney Wide World of Sports. So that's interesting because that name keeps popping up in that location because they have the facilities, they have the amenities and the hotel rooms to hold this many people for a long number of time, and it's on a private property. You're not having as many people come in, and it lowers the risk of somebody getting something. So really interesting as well.
Do you think they have enough room there for my college football teams as well? We're going to see the Ducks and Beavers play come the beginning of the college football season?
That's like basically the only league that isn't talking about going to Disney World right now. But yeah, college football is starting to take the necessary steps to do so. And think about it, and there's so much money involved. Even Oregon's athletic director talked to John Canzano today about this and the impact that college football has on its universities. If they don't play these football games, that's like an $80 million loss for the university, and it is super interesting to follow. So there's that is involved with this as well. The NCAA had a meeting earlier this week and said, you know what, we're going to go ahead and allow people to, or universities to open their facilities again and be able to hold voluntary workouts. Now, that becomes an issue for your school depending on where you are located, like the Oregon Ducks, the Oregon State Beavers, who Governor Brown still has her order in place until the middle of June. So even if the Pac-12 decides to this week decide, yes, we're going to go ahead and allow individual workouts, we're going to go ahead and open up our facilities, Oregon and Oregon State may have to wait a little while longer. But the Pac-12 commissioner even talking on CNN today and saying, look, if things continue to go the way they are right now and the progress that is being made in the fight against this pandemic, we are on pace to continue to have college football and to have it kick off late August.
Got it. All right, Orlando Sanchez with a nice update for us. Thank you, sir.
Take care, Dan.
Hey everybody, I'm Matt Safino, and yes, we are still celebrating the 40th anniversary of the big 1980 eruption and explosion of Mount St. Helens. And a viewer, Gordon Smith is his name, no, not the former senator from Oregon, at least I don't believe so, but Gordon Smith sent me a bunch of pictures that he took. What he did is right after the eruption, he was able to, he's a pilot, and he was able to hire a small airplane, rent a small plane, and he flew up and around the mountain and got some amazing shots. I'm going to share several of those with you right now. First of all, the big picture. That's actually live right now from the Johnston Ridge camera showing the new snow that fell on the mountain today. It's only 42 degrees up there, but let's get on to Gordon's pictures. Here's the big picture, and look at that. It's just a really great perspective of the depth and the extent of the ash and gas plume that came out of the mountain. And this was after the big eruption of May 18th. So it was still very active, the mountain was, well after the May 18th eruption. But look at the close-up pictures that we got from Gordon. These are amazing. That looks like an art piece. What you're looking at, however, are trees that were all blown down by the pyroclastic flow of ash, gas, and wind that was well over 100 miles an hour. Just basically laid those things down, stripped them bare. It's just so impressive to see. Those are full-on trees. Here's another look, a little bit of a ridge in the foreground, so you get perspective looking across, and there's a trail on the lower right, or on the right-hand side of the screen there too. But just amazing the blowdown that happened there. Nearby town covered in ash. I think that's a Gremlin, or maybe it's a Pinto. Remember the cars from the 70s? Look at that. Ash covering nearby towns, of course. Then this, talking about nearby towns, that's a truck. The cab of the truck is on the right-hand side. Look, it's buried up well beyond its axles. Look at those giant stumps right next to it to give you a perspective of size. Another truck, that's a logging truck, completely flipped over on steep terrain. And then finally, this is what's called a yarder in logging. And it's that big pole that they stand up, and then they run cables out of it to drag the logs into a central location with Spirit Lake in the background there. And again, that thing stood amazingly, but all the logs near all the trees nearby turned into logs. So Dan, some incredible pictures as we continue our Mount St. Helens covers, because the pictures are just so compelling.
You know, I thought I saw it all this week, right, because we've been playing stuff every day. I was like, all right, what can you show me that I haven't seen? Those pictures were incredible. You did not undersell those. Thank you,
right?
Matt. Man, good stuff. Sure. And of course, we've loved talking about the 40th anniversary of Mount St. Helens eruption this week. You guys have been sending in great memories, great pictures right there, everything from that year in 1980. Keep doing it through email, Facebook, with the hashtag HeyDan. We've been reading a lot of them on air this week. We kind of put some dramatic music to them. I've been using my storyteller voice. So let's listen to another one of those amazing memories.
From Leanne. Enough Mount St. Helens already. We've been talking about it for a week.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, Leanne, I get it. I totally hear you. Eruption overload, I guess. You're in luck. It's the end of the week. So you probably don't have to hear about this again until, I don't know, next year or something. For the rest of you, they can't get enough of the Mount St. Helens stuff. We got tons and tons and tons and tons of coverage on our website and on our YouTube page, so hop on there and check it out. Now, if you're a regular viewer, you know that I get a lot of comments about my clothes, mostly my sports coats, stuff like that. But last night, man, people were paying attention to the details. Sheila emailed us at thestory@kgw.com and asked, "Where's your wedding ring?" Some days it's on, some days it's off. I actually got 3 messages about that last night. It was amazing. I didn't wear it, but man, you guys pay attention to details. See, answer is, I don't wear jewelry, all right? No watches, nothing like that. I just wear the ring. I'm one of those guys that takes it off when I get home, puts it on a little dish on my countertop. Sometimes at work, I take it off and fiddle with it when I'm looking over scripts or writing something, and sometimes I forget to put it back on. Oh, and Sheila, my wife works on the show, and she gets those emails. So thanks for that. It went over great. All right, we're going to read some more of your comments when we finish the story right after this. All right, let's talk comments real quick. Dave wrote in and said, "Hey, Dan, I used to think you and your show sucked. You have grown on me. I appreciate your honesty." And I appreciate yours, Dave. Jeez. Nora said, "Hey, Dan, my 6-year-old wants to know, how are you so smart? We love the show." You know, 6 is the cutoff, actually. By the time you're 7, you'll start rolling your eyes at everything I say. Thanks for writing in. Thanks for being with us this week. We're going to leave you tonight with a little joy, a little silliness at a Beaverton assisted living facility from our photojournalist, Kurt Austin. Have yourself a great weekend. We'll see you back here next week.
I love you and don't you forget it. I love you and don't you forget it. I love
We just miss our residents and we want to let them know we love them. They are not forgotten.
You won't regret it. Love me too and you won't regret it.
My name is Brinna Hurwitz and I teach yoga and therapeutic dance at facilities as well as yoga for PD.
We've been locked down for a long time.
Even though they've been on lockdown, it's been really trying for them and for us too.
Just keeping my social distancing.
My name is Barbara Lumen and I live here.
It just makes me so sad to think of so many of them unable to come out, unable to see family, unable to be hugged. And I'm just hoping to bring a smile to their faces and let them know they are not forgotten.
Forget it. I love you and don't you forget it, baby.
I'm in for this.
And the exciting part is we're going to do a parade. A loud, noisy parade around a whole building so everyone can see us.
I've got the wave.
Just T for 2 and 2 for tears.
So I've been a performer and dancer all my life, and this is who I want to work with now. I really love working with this appreciative population.
I think it's wonderful. It brightens our day. It's given us something to be happy about.
All these signs are for you, right? Oh, sweet.
The second part is like a happening where simultaneously we're at different spots around the building.
Let's put some entertainment on the outside and let people view it from a distance.
We have Jeffrey the dog.
This is Jeffrey, and I'm Tim. Okay, Jeffrey, come on.
We have a fabulous cast. LaRue and Sue and Laura Lou, who went to clown college.
That's the payment right there. That's what I do it for, is to see that transformation from stuck in your own world to open and full of wonder. Oh, hello! Thank you for putting up the thank you signs.
I'm happy, really happy to make them happy.
Come on. Good boy. Jeffrey likes it. He loves coming here because My wife's parents stay here.
The world is an amazing place, even when things are crappy.
Brightens our day.
I love you.
Can't you see how happy we
I'll see you soon. I love you.